Hi guys, welcome back to Blondie Reels. Today I'm going to talk about the movie The Art of Self-Defense released in 2019. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie revolves around a skinny and geeky dude named Casey Davis who works as an accountant. Casey's colleagues hate him because he is clumsy and checks his expenses. He lives with his beloved dog Dachshund. One night, he went to the market when he found that his Dachshund was out of food. On the way to the store, he is approached by two men on motorcycles. Oddly enough, one of them asks Casey if he has a gun. Later, Casey is walking home with a meal when the men on the motorbike approach him again with their group. Fearing for his life, Casey attempts to flee, but they manage to catch him and knock him unconscious before robbing him. A few days later, Casey wakes up in the hospital. He checks his voicemail and finds that no one has asked him how he is, except for his boss, Grant, who told him to take rest as per his need. Casey, who fears for his life after this traumatic incident, feels compelled to buy a gun after watching the gangster movie. He went to a gun shop and tried to ask for a pistol, but was told that he would have to go through a background check and waiting period before he could actually get one. On his way home, he sees a board of karate classes. As he enters, he sees a teacher teaching a class. After class, Casey speaks to the teacher and asks if he can join. The teacher invites him to a free trial the next day to see for himself. When asked why he attended a karate class, Casey lied to him that he wants to remain healthy. Before Casey leaves, he meets Anna, who is teaching children. She was the only female member of the dojo, and she wore a brown belt. Being naturally cold, she quickly punishes him for wearing shoes on the mat. Casey starts classes as a white belt. At the dojo, he meets Henry, who is friendly with him. Casey's first lesson teaches him how to kick with his feet. He trains with another student, Kenneth, who knocks Casey out on his first attempt. But Casey manages to throw some decent punch kicks here and there, which gives Casey a huge boost in performance. When the promotion arrives, Henry confides in Casey that he overheard his teacher talking to someone, believing he will be promoted to black belt. Before promoting his students, Sensei told them about the late grandmaster of the dojo who was shot and killed, and ever since, Sensei has believed that people who use guns are weak. Tell everyone about the moves he knew. He could kill by plunging his index finger into the skull. Impressed by Casey's progress, Sensei upgrades Casey to yellow belt. However, Sensei does not promote Henry and instead awards the black belt to another dojo member named Thomas. After the promotion, Casey starts building his confidence. However, one afternoon, Casey gets into trouble with a man while shopping for himself. The man intimidates him and takes the groceries out of his bag. Casey ends up walking home in tears. This greatly lowers Casey's morale, and he begins to question whether he deserves the yellow belt. Casey eventually realizes that he was beaten by a thug and why he joined a karate class. He admits to his teacher that he is afraid of men taller than him. The teacher tells him he did the right thing by attending a karate class, but self-improvement has a spiritual component. He also advised Casey not to learn French and asked him to learn German instead. He believes Germany is stronger and more capable. He tells him what he eats and how he interacts with others. Everything should be as masculine as possible. The teacher also invites Casey to an evening class. Casey takes his advice and makes some changes in his life. One day, Casey receives a text from Grant that he has to get back to work. 2 months at his job, Casey begins to behave self-consciously and is seen as an arrogant man. When Grant invites Casey to dinner with him and his wife, he punches Grant in the throat and says his boss that he cannot be friends with the people who work under him. He then speaks to the boys in the break room, talking about his manly behavior. He also insults them, but still draws them to his side. Casey is fired, but decides to continue following his teacher's advice and stop petting her dog to be strong. He also goes to an evening class and finds Henry there, although he was not invited. Henry feels he was betrayed for showing up without telling him. As class begins, the teacher calls Henry to a demonstration and deliberately breaks Henry's elbow. He then chastises Henry for showing up to class uninvited before kicking him out of the dojo. One night, the teacher calls Casey to tell him that he has found one of the bikers who attacked him. He meets his teacher at a bar, and he later orders Casey to confront him. Casey leads a heavily intoxicated man to a parking lot, where he appears to be on his motorcycle. Eventually, Casey punched the man in the stomach, causing him to fall and hit his head on the pavement, causing him to bleed. The teacher comes out and for some reason starts recording the incident. Casey then takes the man's keys and confirms that he was riding a regular bicycle, not a motorcycle. Because the teacher had lied to him about the man's identity, Casey returned home in horror, only to find his dog lying unconscious on the floor. Then the doctor tells Casey that the dog died because someone appeared to kick his ribs. However, blood was seen on his teeth. Namely, he bit the person who attacked him. After being convinced that Sensei killed the dog, Casey returned to the dojo and intentionally broke all the rules and threw himself on the mat to anger Sensei. Eat, drink, and wear shoes on the mat. When the teacher shows up, Casey accuses him of killing the dog. Sensei denies his involvement, but Casey is convinced he killed the dog and threatens to leave the dojo. But the teacher then shows him his recording of killing a man. Casey goes to another evening class, where the teacher puts him, Anna, Thomas, and Kenneth on their bikes. Casey rides in with Anna, who approaches the undercover cop the same way Casey approached earlier. The cop shoots Anna in the leg, and before anything else goes wrong, Casey uses his moves to attack the cop, only to end up killing her by slamming her head into her fire hydrant. The teacher reprimands Anna for not asking the man if he has a gun, just as he robbed Casey. The teacher tells Casey that he needs a red stripe on his belt for taking her life, and realizes that Anna has a red stripe as well. Casey takes Anna home, and she tells him when she started the dojo, they didn't take her seriously as a woman, so she held back from a young age. The champion back then attacked her in her dressing room, and she strangled him to death with her belt. She thanked Casey for taking her home, but told him not to go back to the dojo. Concerned, Casey returns to the dojo and continues digging. He discovers that the dojo has a crematorium, and also discovers that Henry's body was suspended by his own belt. There is also a tape containing one of Casey's robberies. He confirms that Sensei, Anna, and Thomas are the ones who attack him, and Thomas knocks him out. It was part of some kind of ruse by Sensei to get people like him to change their lives. After leaving, he notices a pickup truck from thugs outside the grocery store, knocking the left mirror off and leaving a dent. Later, we see the teacher find Henry's body and throw it into the crematorium. Casey approached the teacher the next day and told him that he will kill him. He also brings up how Sensei blackmails other former students into paying their dues. Casey then challenges him to duel to the death, and the teacher is confident that he will win. The two dress and bow, but Casey pulls out a gun and puts a bullet in the teacher's head. During evening classes, Casey takes over and places the teacher's body on the floor for others to see. Before continuing, he tells the student that he beats him with his index finger just like the Grandmaster. Before he starts the class, he told students to hold their hands. He then sees bite marks on Thomas' wrists, confirming that he was the one who killed Casey's Dachshund. He's bringing his new German Shepherd. The dog begins tearing Thomas' throat out. Casey then gives Anna her black belt and puts her in charge of the dojo, where she promises to demonstrate a more compassionate fighting style. As the movie ends, Casey continues to teach the children. And here our movie ends. Hope you like the video. For more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.